that with you all. Just a logistical thing. So you're welcome. I am going to ask you to come up, and I'll tell you in advance of who's next. And so I think actually, Chris, welcome. You're going to be our first, but in a minute. And when I call you up, what you'll do is if you want to sit, you can sit. If you want to stand and read from the podium, you can stand and read from the podium. And you're, just as I've told most of you, going to take 3 to 4 minutes to share your poem. And then why it's so important to you, what you found meaning in that for yourself in that poem. And so please take that time. And again, as you may have heard from me, we have a lot of people signed up today. And so we need to keep going. I'm not necessarily going to be doing a stopwatch, but I will be encouraging you to finish up your comments after you finish reading. So with that, I'm going to invite Kevin up to do our first reading as a form of our chalice lighting, since I forgot mine. And we'll get started with that.
Well, I thought we ought to start talking about poetry. The poem I'm going to read is called Introduction to Poetry by Billy Collins. I think the essence of poetry is actually contained in the words of Robert Boltman. Boltman is a Buddhist respiratory therapist who works at hospice and whose longest poems are haiku. So this is even shorter. Walking the river, the water thinks for me. So this is Billy Collins, Introduction to Poetry. There you go. I asked him to take a poem and hold it out to the light, like a color slide, or press an ear against its hide. I say, drop a mouse into the poem and watch him probe his way out, or walk inside the poem's room and feel the walls for a light switch. I want them to water ski across the surface of a poem, waving at the author's name on the shore. But all they want to do is tie the poem to a chair with rope and torture a confession out of it. Then begin beating it with a hose to find out what it really means. So if you don't get it yet, the other definition of poetry that I like is from Archibald MacLeish's Ars Poetica, in which he says a poem should be palpable and mute as a globed fruit. In other words, the thing itself, not something that means something else outside the poem. So experience the poem first as the thing itself before you try to torture meaning out of it. and as Ars Poetica ends, a poem should not mean but be.
Thank you, Kevin. So Chris, if you want to come on up, and Deborah, you're next up. So.
Experience the poem first before you torture meaning out of it. Well, I'm gonna try and follow that as best as I can. It's great to be here. So I'm a poet from the Bay Area. I've been published in children's literature, fiction, mostly in poetry, and so used to give Dharma talks in Berkeley. So all about me. This one. Sorry, I was on time, but I missed the I'm supposed to talk a little bit about after the poet.
Well, about what it means to you, and maybe your
before or
after.
Okay. All right. This one is called Walk to Eternity. I walk my path patiently with one instruction: to pay close attention. So I honor that by smelling the flowers along the way to divinity. I'm in no hurry on my soul's journey, as the thought of avoiding pain pulls me back. The thought of pursuing pleasure pushes me forward, so I keep walking. Depression slows me down. Anger speeds me up. Fear stops me in my tracks, but I keep walking. Distraction steers me left. Revelation keeps me right, as I keep walking faithfully towards home, where my beloved awaits to hear all about my adventure, to return to myself one step at a time.
Please don't drop your voice at the end. I did not hear that last line.
Oh, to return to myself one step at a time. And I'll read louder next time. So that, it's a little self-evident, but that's kind of my path, you know. I like that piece because I can kind of act it out and, so I can have fun with that piece. And this one is called What is a Poem? It's a ball of love inspired by your muse, formed by your words, around your thoughts, chiseled away by your feelings, fired in the oven of your heart, tempered by grace, glazed over with your tears, cooled with your patience, life breathed into it by your voice, given away by your conscience, and finally blessed by your soul. That was inspired by you know, the mystics. Khalil Gibran is my favorite writer. I think he's the last great writer that lived. I think he's the Middle Eastern William Blake, but even William Blake didn't write in another language like Arabic. So
Okay, one more.
one more. History or the mystery. Embrace the mystery or be hypnotized with history. History's been told, the mystery unfolds. History's been died for and bought, the mystery's been cried for and sought. History may help predict future events. The mystery is the main event. History is reckoning while the mystery is beckoning. History is near, so the mystery you fear. History may have won, but the mystery is the fun. Sometimes history lost with a mysterious boss. But you must make things happen so you can make history and have history decide your fate. Or you can do nothing and let the marvelous mystery reside in its place. Death is the greatest show on earth that nobody wants a ticket to, but an even greater mystery lies inside of you. So I leave you with this question. Will you be on the side of history or the mystery?
Thank you, Chris. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Jeff, you're up after Deborah.
I know you said the introduction should be at the end, but this, I love this book.
Doesn't have to be, thank you.
What's that?
It doesn't have to be.
Okay.
Be clear.
Absolutely. This is a book of three friends that share a prompt, and I gather what they said was a daily prompt. And then they each write something about that subject. And it's fun to see the difference in the different take each poet has on the subject. And the prompt that I chose was In the End, and it's the last set of poems. So by Jackie Bellum, or Bellum, A Tiny Reminder. Already a year into his absence, his last poem, 3 lines, red ink, a tiny reminder. And by Liz Collins, who is, she's an artist, and I was at her studio when I found this book. So she has a different take. In the end, sometimes I still feel it in a flash when everything was rich and joyous, cadmium yellow straight from the tube. It's like time stopped on a Saturday morning, and there is my father with fresh donuts, their jelly the color of hydrangea. And there is the whole blue sea wanting me like it could wait no longer. Mostly days wash over me in mere hints of color, and it's not about happiness or a lack of it, but I can't help but compare it with the pure pigment of youth. In the end, I imagine a wide brush, whitewashing days, flattening the landscape, blending me into the background, a blue-gray haze, a streak, the final upturned stroke. By Kate Dwyer, In the End. In the end, he got the girl and never looked back. Peace reigned. The black rhinoceros returned from the brink of extinction, and they came to the table and resolved their differences. We all prospered in our passions, The native people regained their homelands. The cars started right up. Your cancer was cured. We lived long and happily and died in our sleep.
Jim, and then Kevin, you can read your second one after this.
Oh, my goodness, okay.
I can't quite remember the poet's name. I think it's Henry Reed, British poet. Writing during World War II. He wrote some poems collectively called Lessons of the War. And this one's called Naming of Parts. I like it because I understand it, for one thing, and 90% of poetry is incomprehensible to me. It's, if you can say this about any poetry because it's so wide open to style, it's a unique style. And it's such understatement. It's a protest of war, but it's so mellow. It's considering how horrible war is, it's kind of interesting. Yes. The speaker is an instructor at basic training, teaching recruits about the rifle they're going to be using in combat, which I really don't have to explain, but I'm an explainer. And he's also sometimes daydreaming, looking at the window at the spring day. Naming of parts, okay. Today we have naming of parts. Yesterday we had daily cleaning, and tomorrow morning we shall have what to do after firing. But today we have naming of parts. Japonica glistens like coral in all of the neighboring gardens, and today we have naming of parts. This, I wish I had a rifle. This is the lower sling swivel, and this is the upper sling swivel, with whose use you will see when you are given your slings. And this is the piling swivel, which in your case you have not got. The branches hold in the gardens their silent, eloquent gestures, which in our case we have not got. This is the safety catch, which is always released with an easy flick of the thumb. And please, do not let me see anyone using his finger. If you can do it quite easy if you have any strength in your thumb. The blossoms are fragile and motionless, never letting anyone see any of them using their finger. I don't like that one. Seems a little clumsy or something. And this you can see is the bolt. The purpose of this is to open a breech, as you see. We can slide it rapidly backwards and forwards. We call this easing the spring. And rapidly backwards and forwards, the early bees are assaulting and fumbling the flowers. That's my favorite line. They call it easing the spring. They call it easing the spring. It is perfectly easy if you have any strength in your thumb, like the bolt and the breech and the cocking piece, and the point of balance, which in our case we have not got, and the almond blossom, silent in all the gardens, and the bees going backwards and forwards. For today we have naming of parts. Wow.
The speaker, because I think I'm not the only person having some trouble.
Yeah, so yeah, if
If the
just,
speaker would, first of all, if we bring them forward a little bit, if that's not too frightening to people.
well, so the challenge, well, hold on, Jim, just because
Oh.
the camera and the people on Zoom. So what I would ask is to project as much as possible. Sorry, I did not think to have projection capabilities, but hopefully people can speak louder. Gaia, that might help. I would also invite you, there's a chair right up here that you might be closer to the speaker if that would help.
I know I'm not the only.
No, I know. I see a lot of people sort of leaning
Yeah.
forward, so. Okay, so Kevin and Lisa, you are after Kevin.
I recently reconnected with an old friend. And he asked me to send him some of my poems, which I did. And he responded by saying, I find poetry hard to understand and impossible to write. So I'm going to try, this poem is from a sequence of poems on classical themes. Aeschylus, Cassandra, Ganymede, and so on. And it's entitled Last Words of the Delphic Oracle. So I'll give you a little context. First of all, the words of the oracle are in italics. So this is an example of a poem being both a visual experience on the page and an auditory experience. So just in case you can't read what's on the screen, I'll change my voice a little bit when it's the voice of the oracle. The rest is just a riff on the last words of the oracle. And the historic context is first of all, Saint John of Patmos wrote Revelation about 92 AD after conquering the evil pagan wizard of Patmos in a contest. And then the last god is said to have died in about 130 AD. This was actually the male lover of the Emperor Hadrian as they were making a royal progress through the Roman Empire, and they were in Egypt, and poor Antinous drowned in the Nile. And then about 312, was it? Constantine saw the sign in the sky just before a battle, and this sign conquered. He won the battle and decided that he would convert the empire to Christianity. And then we come to the last words of the Delphic Oracle, because a successor, Emperor Julian, in 362 AD, wanted to reconvert the empire back to paganism. Yeah. Okay. So he sent his physician to Delphi to get advice from the oracle about how to do this. All right. So the last words of the Delphic oracle. Go tell the emperor the wondrous temple has fallen. Did you not know that the last god had died these 200 years, drowned in the Nile among the blood and flesh of Osiris and the wizard of Patmos before him? Apollo too is dead and not to be found here, no flesh, no blood, no laurel wreath of prophecy. The bones of poesy and reason are stripped dry by hungry beasts of augury. You wish to know too much, and now there is naught to be told. A few columns stand like sun-scorched ribs of the golden god in leaden silence. Here there is no spring that speaks, the rippling water is heard no more. Here find dry and silent stones, but none left one upon another, and leafless trees bereft of ravens at the center of all, where no Pythian games are played now, no poet slakes her thirst here, dreaming a mouthful of dust. Another god, thought dead, climbed down, to promise peace and silver streams of justice, to invoke in unheard words what passes all discerning, that no hand should be raised against another, no word ever spoken again in anger, the poor taken in, the naked clothed, the hungry fed, the slave freed. Tell the emperor that another oracle has fallen silent, for no emperor ever listened.
Yeah.
Lisa? And then Steve, you're next? No, yeah.
Hi, I'm going to read a poem called Why I Wake Early by Mary Oliver. Hello, sun in my face. Hello, you who make the morning and spread it over the fields and into the faces of the tulips and the nodding morning glories, and even into the windows of the miserable and the crotchety. Best preacher that ever was. Dear star, dear star, I had it. Dear star, that just happens to be where you are in the universe, to keep us from ever darkness, to ease us with your warm touching, to hold us in the great hands of light. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Watch now how I start the day in happiness, in kindness. And the reason I love that poem, I've read it for a while, but the reason I decided to memorize it was because sometimes it's easy when you haven't slept in the night, or if you, for whatever reason, and you wake up or your eyes, and you're like thinking about, gosh, what happened overnight that's going to maybe make me feel very sad or angry or whatever. And I thought, you know what? The best way we can start a day is something positive. And anyway, so that's why I chose that poem to memorize. So I try and say it. It went before I opened my eyes in the morning. One last quick one.
Yeah.
This one is called Small Kindnesses by Danusha Lamaris. And I chose this one because we just got back from a long trip. And 2.5 months in Europe, and camping, riding bikes, and it was great. But we weren't unaware of what was happening here for that 2.5 months. And so I wasn't sure, every time you leave somewhere and you come home and you're like, am I gonna feel different? Is it going to look different? Are the people, after all this 2.5 months, going to in the US, what am I gonna find when I come home? And I got off the plane after 9.5 hours in long flight, and fumbling with my passport and my global entry, and you're like, and you come in, and I hear this voice say, right over here, baby, I just need your face, I don't need a thing. And I small, shorter than me, white-haired lady, and she just was like, right here. And I thought, thank you. Right? Just those small kindnesses. So Small Kindnesses by Danusha Lamaris. I've been thinking about the way when you walk down a crowded aisle, people pull in their legs to let you by, or how strangers say bless you when someone sneezes. A leftover from the bubonic plague. Don't die, we are saying. And sometimes when you spill lemons from your grocery bag, someone else will help you pick them up. Mostly we don't want to harm each other. We want to be handed our cup of coffee hot and to say thank you to the person handing it, to smile at them and for them to smile back. For the waitress to call us honey when she sets down the bowl of clam chowder, and for the driver in the red pickup truck to let us pass. We have so little of each other now, so far from tribe and fire. Only these brief moments of exchange. What if they are the true dwelling of the holy? These fleeting temples we make together when we say, here, have my seat. Go ahead. You first. I like your hat.
Yes. Steve, and then Norman, you're gonna be next.
We got invited to a winter solstice bonfire a few years ago with a request to read a poem about the winter solstice. One thing about poetry is that it can contain so much beauty, depth of insight and eloquence as to be intimidating sometimes. You don't need to worry about that here. This is called Winter Solstice Poem. A fire with friends and wine, snacks and conversation? Absolutely. I accept your invitation. What? I've got to read a winter solstice poem? Maybe such exists, that doesn't mean I am. I could try to write one, a record of the times, yeah. Grab a pen, some paper, then I'll write some rhymes. Beads of sweat soon formed with some mild agitation. That's when I recall the recent innovation. I saw it on the news among the daily fluff. Artificial intelligence was writing stuff. Just feed it specs such as topic, form, and style. Soon I'd had my poem, albeit, my God. I found an AI bot, soon had it downloaded. Optimistic, though my budget had exploded. Winter solstice poem, 12 syllables per line. Okay, bot, do your stuff and make it sound like mine. Human, you should know I've got better taste than that. My brain exceeds by far what's underneath your hat. But you're condescending. You're skating on thin ice. Just stick to the facts. I don't want to say this twice. Earth's axis to 23.5 degrees means summertime you sweat and wintertime you freeze. Not bad for starters, Bot. How about the length of day? The shortest one, I'm told, is what the experts say. So it is mere human, the shortest of the lot, but longer than the MIDI intellect you've got. Stonehenge and Newgrange, 4,000 to 5,000 years old. Winter solstice monuments, as the story is told. Global solstice rites back to Neolithic times feature fire, food, and drinks across the northern climes. Human, maybe you should know one more little fact. An extra monthly fee buys upgrades with some tact. That surly bot, with its intellectual edge, somehow had not foreseen the swinging of my sledge. That brought some satisfaction. Frankly, it was fun. In any case, that's all. And now this poem's done.
Okay, Norman, and then Justin, you'll be right after your dad.
Well, I'm looking for the poem that I was intended to write. I've written hundreds. I'm gonna start with this one. And listen very closely. It's kind of contrary from one word to the other, jumps back and forth. It's called, oh, excuse me, my name is Norman Timothy Zuniga, and this is my poem called A Mother Tries, a Baby Sighs, a Young Soldier Dies. A writer writes, a street fighter fights, a wayward woman works those late nights, a baby cries. A young soldier dies, a child learns, while the world slowly turns, my lonely heart burns. A warrior comes of age in a world full of rage. And just where do you run to when you're trapped in a cage? In this bloody world, so hostile and so very mean, what's a man supposed to do? And where's he supposed to go? Does anyone know? Why must mothers grieve? Children leave, some never to return. Why must mothers grieve? Children leave never to return, while flag, wooden crosses, and whole villages burn. Sweet Jesus, I plead, please return soon. It takes a little bit out of you. Well, that was what I can plan to next. So I'm gonna talk briefly, about poetry. My poetry is born out of pain. Disastrous first life, disastrous second life, because I've lived many. Incarcerated as in juvenile facilities, many times. It was just, so that's why I try to write poems for the common man and expressing my things. This one's called Be Childlike. Your love of all things is so very sweet, complete. Your youthful innocence, exuberance, it's intoxicating. Oh, how you pummel me with your brutal honesty. Your feelings flow freely on lost innocence. We adults are frantically, feverishly seeking to reclaim our cruel bars are what we have around our hard hearts. Thy love is pristine, pure warm winter whiteness. So cool. Supernatural, totally out of sight to minutely and momentarily recapture that blissful state, nirvana, a peace-filled paradigm. And I got one, I write these in when I'm like, this one I wrote while I was incarcerated. And listen very closely, it was after my nephew died. He died at 18, as well as another 18. So the pain you can feel in this, but this is actually written as a recipe for life. And you can write your own recipe and add any ingredients you want. This one's called A Well Done Poem. Not underbaked or not cooked or listen up. Combine in extraordinary portions love, respect, and courage. Add extra love as needed. Exclude all shoves. Add a pinch of self-confidence, a smidgen of curiosity, and humility and clarity. Mix very well in a humongous bowl or vat. Imagine that. Bake. Woo. Take that as you will. Bake at 350 degrees for 1 full hour. Cool. Serve warm with ice cream to everyone, everywhere. Generously. Enjoy. Include several strong prayers and butterfly kisses. I just got a few more explanations. Well, I'm not going to write anything about myself. This is self-explanatory, and it's real. I wrote this in Northern Cali, and some of you might know this author is indigenous, Sherman Alexie. I've been reading Sherman Alexie. Been reading Alexie down by Indian Falls, Northern Cali. We are lazily laughing. We're really living. Outside I'm stalling, so damn solid. I'm MacGyver, an indigenous survivor. A very high diver. I'm that last little bit of jelly in a lost jelly jar. I'm a red car. Chucky, I'm going far to the next bar. No. I'm a frail chemotherapy patient who's patiently waiting to die. I've no hairs. Hairs none on my head. I'm mostly dead. My Indian name is he who runs swiftly naked through the thunder, laughing. Woo, they've since shortened it to running bear. I'm lifeless, res, wonder bread. I'm burnt toast. I'm Jim Thorpe. I'm handsome lake. I drink white port. I'm unorthodox. I'm busted lost. I'm broken clock. I'm dirty socks. I'm building blocks. I'm your imaginary friend. Oh. I'm the wind. I'm everywhere. Then I'm gone. I'm nowhere. I swear. I'm torn asunder. I'm white lightning. Hell no. I'm loud thunder and reservation wonder. I'm Antique Zuniga. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Justin, thank you. And then Maya, you'll be up after.
Good job. So I'll keep it to one. I'm glad I yielded some of my time to my father there. So let me just pull it up briefly. It's called I Am the Person. Briefly, it's written from the perspective of what we call evil in this world and the history of it. Everything that's ever been committed in the name of evil. Okay. Please, I beg you, allow me to confess to many self-incriminating crimes, of which I hope have no statute of limitations. This shall be an itemized invoice of atrocities that I personally will be held to account. I come before you today guilty on all charges brought forth, however, highly likely to reoffend, for I am the person who has done you wrong. Recently, it was likely a small infraction. I probably talked down to you, made you feel lesser than, and you've called out my microaggressions. But my lack of consideration is ample. For I am the person who will take what I want without thinking twice and not even hesitate to take your life. And if we had met, you would recollect with the lucidity that only traumatization allows. Count yourself blessed that you didn't meet your demise that fateful day. And I am sure I took appropriate measures to extinguish your spark of divinity, successfully dimming your essence ever since. Don't you remember my face? To bear honest testimony, my own mother and father, my closest loved ones and acolytes. As soon as my hands grew large enough to clasp around their throats, I took their final breath, granting their inalienable right for supporting me most. I solemnly love those who remain close to me, knowing what I am capable of. As my strength and knowledge abounds, so does my destruction. I have fought legions of brothers and defiled countless sisters to death. And I worry I will not be able to stop this rampage because I relish in the world's destruction. Today, I pray my bloodlust is never met, and I pray to your ancestors for forgiveness. So with that, basically comes, I wrote it after reading a lot of Ram Dass and Alan Watts,
with the understanding that there's just consciousness really that exists, and it's everything, it's the good and the bad. And if I want to take all of that goodness that I'm seeking in this world, I have to also be accountable for the shadow that exists. We can't deny it. So it's showing homage to it. It's paying respect to that piece that we all carry, that darkness, that shadow side of it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, Maya, and then Jennifer, you next after Maya.
Okay, at first I thought, wow, this is gonna be a huge change of pace, but. As you will see, I fell in love with Shakespeare, I think the summer after my freshman year in high school. But before that, I had to memorize a speech from The Merchant of Venice in my freshman English class. And for most of us, probably, you know, when you have to do that, it's like just a bunch of words. And you're just trying to keep up with the iambic pentameter and yada, yada, yada. And so I like to go, I mean, once I started getting into Shakespeare, I went to go back and actually read it and listen. And when you see it acted well, it's like nothing you'll ever see. Anyway, so this particular speech, a lot of you probably recognize. And I'll talk a little bit more about it, but again, it's kind of related to what we just heard. The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes. 'Tis mightiest in the mightiest. It becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. His scepter shows the force of temporal power, the attribute of awe and misery wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings. But mercy is above this sceptred sway. It is enthroned in the hearts of kings. It is an attribute to God himself. And earthly power doth then show, likest God, when mercy seasons justice. Therefore you, though justice be thy plea, consider this, that in the course of justice, none of us should see salvation. We do pray for mercy. And that same prayer doth teach us all to render the deeds of mercy. It's different when you start thinking about the meaning, right? And I, of course, in recent times, well, first of all, like I said, Shakespeare, I haven't done this project before, and I thought, you know, Shakespeare's always been important to me since then, so I thought it's Shakespeare. And then I feel like mercy is kind of hard to come by sometimes lately. And the other thing I was thinking upon reading this, because I don't know how well you know the story, but the scene for this is that the Shylock, the moneylender, has lent Antonio the merchant money for a business venture. And Antonio's ships are lost, and so Shylock now wants his pound of flesh, which was the bounty that he claimed for this. And so Portia has disguised herself as a lawyer to argue in favor of Antonio, and is now trying in this speech trying to convince Shylock to give up his claim. And I think if I were to ever direct a version of this play, I would make Portia and Antonio the bad guys. Because what happens after this speech is that she turns around and completely humiliates Shylock, and ultimately they deprive him of everything he owns. So she does not practice what she preaches. So I just find, which to me is what the most interesting thing about Shakespeare is, that there are so many ways to look at what he's written. And so you can take pieces of it like this and apply it to just about it. So Shakespeare's my hero, whether or not he was the Earl of Oxford.
Yeah. All right, Jennifer, and then Jackie, you're up after Jennifer.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Cochran, and I'm a grandma. And I bought this book for my grandson for Christmas. And it is stunningly illustrated by Susan Jeffries. And it's illustrating the poem of Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. This is obviously an iconic poem, but Robert Frost called it my best bid at literary immortality. Stopping by woods on a snowy evening. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it's queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds, the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep. And we can all say it. And miles to go before I sleep. And miles to go before I sleep.
Thank you.
Anyone is welcome to look at this book, and the illustrations in here just really spike your imagination.
Is Marcy online? I don't see her in the room.
I don't have Marcy online.
Okay, well, we'll go on to the next person. Are you Amber? No.
No.
Is Amber on?
I do not have an Amber online either. Steffi has a contribution she'd like
Go
to
ahead.
read, though.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not big on poetry, but as I've been cleaning out things, I came across a couple that I really like. And actually, these are ones that, the first one is by Jill Ruckelshaus. Some of you know that name?
Sounds familiar, yeah.
National Women's Political Caucus.
Okay.
Okay.
This poem is just, it's what's going on right now. I'll try not to cry. We are in for a very, very long haul. I'm asking for everything you have to give. We will never give up. You will lose your youth, your sleep, your patience, your sense of humor, and occasionally the understanding and support of people that love you very much. Return, I have nothing to offer you but your pride in being a woman. And all your dreams you've ever had for your daughters, nieces, and granddaughters. I'm just gonna cry. Your future, and the certain knowledge that at the end of your days, you'll be able to look back and say that once in your life, you gave everything you had for justice.
Yay, yay.
This is from the 70s,
Wow.
but
Hello.
here we are. Back again.
Yeah.
She helped start the National Women's Political Caucus. And some of you, along with me, were part of the Nevada Women's Political Caucus here in Washoe County. The other one I brought is one that's on my desk, that's up there all the time, and I just pulled it right off and brought it. This is called I Want to Be with People, and it's by the Reverend Dana E. Warsnop, who I think is like in Illinois now. She's traveled around, so she's a UU minister. I want to be with people. Often people say that they love coming to a place with so many like-minded people. I know just what they're getting at, and I know that they're not getting it quite right. I don't want to be with a bunch of people who think just like me. I want to be in a beloved community where I don't have to think like everyone else to be loved to be eligible for salvation. I want to be with people who value compassion, justice, love, and truth, though they have different thoughts and opinions about all sorts of things. I want to be with people, with independent-minded people of good heart. I want to be with people who have many names and no name at all for God. I want to be with people who see me in goodness, see in me goodness and dignity, who also see my failings and foibles and who still love me. I want to be with people who feel their interconnection with all existence and let it guide their footfalls upon the earth. I want to be with people who see life as a paradox and don't always rush to resolve it. I want to be with people who are willing to walk the tightrope that is life and who will hold my hand as I walk mine. I want to be with people who let church call them into a different way of being in the world. I want to be with people who support, encourage, and even challenge each other to higher and more ethical living. I want to be with people who inspire one another to follow the call of the Spirit. I want to be with people who covenant to be honest, engaged, and kind, who strive to keep their promises and hold me to the promises I make. I want to be with people who give of themselves, who share their hearts and minds and gifts. I want to be with people who know that human community is often warm and generous, sometimes challenging and almost always a grand adventure. In short, I want to be with people like you.
So Steffi, will your poem fit in 3 or 4 minutes?
You're on mute, love.
Yes, there we are. Sorry, trying
All
to
right,
figure this thing out.
go ahead.
All right. This one really touched me when I was in high school. And now that my life is starting to wind down again, it's touching me even more. So with that said, this is the Desiderata. Go placidly amid the noise and the haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and the ignorant, for they too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexations to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many people strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many things, many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God whatever you conceive him to be. And whatever your labors and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy. This was written in 1927 by one Max Ehrmann.
Thank you, Stefan. Wow, thank you all for sharing. That was really quite amazing. Before, as we wrap up, I first want to acknowledge, for so many reasons, the work as Kevin has done on the forum, but in particular the advertising for this one, and getting literally more people here than we've ever had. Thank you, Kevin.
Yay, Kevin!
Typical format, Kevin is now going to come up and tell us about our next forum.
January 24th, it'll be Judith Lowry, who many of you know had a recent exhibit at the Nevada Museum of Art. And she's going to be talking about resilience through art, and particularly from a Native American perspective. So January 24th. And also, if there are any of you who are not receiving personal emails from me announcing the Sunday forums, please let me know. Just give me your email address, or let me know anyone else who might like to give me their email address. So, all right, thank you very much.
See you on the 24th. Thank you.
There we go.
Yeah.
Actually,
25th. All right. Well, we won't get messed up as to which day is assigned. Thank you. Thank you, everybody online.
It's